I have this theory called the Eeyore Theory. And I'm going to tell you a story about why I think that this is a legitimate thing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. So, if you don't know who I am, I'm a professor of innovation. And I created this whole reciprocity platform. When I started this in 2015, I thought it was a really simple thing. I'd create this little technical solution to a problem that I had, and I would pay the favor forward. And the simple problem is how can I make my writing better? And I would thought of this at the time, the whole sharing economy had blown up, and there was things like Uber, and I was like, I'm a really smart guy. I can do this particular thing and build it. I put it out on the internet. I did put it out on the internet, and nobody paid attention to it. And so then I started to go on the internet and I became a YouTuber of all things because I wanted to get the word out there. And I realized as I was doing this that the only stuff that you really paid attention to was all of the negative things that I was talking about. And then I also realized when I went on the internet and I looked at other YouTubers that were becoming much more successful than I was in this particular domain, is that it's always about the negative. It's always about how things are so terrible. And it's always about that I am hard done by in some sort of way, or that there is a certain problem that I'm experiencing. And so I've begun to realize, and this is why I call it the Eeyore Theory, is I've begun to realize that we just naturally want to become Eeyores. So I don't know if you know that character from and now I'm blanking on the story, Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore was this character that always seemed to be down, that always had rain on him, and it was always a poor me kind of thing. Now, I think we naturally like to do that, and we gravitate towards that when we are alone with our thoughts. And so if I speak negatively and I say that there is all of these problems that exist, and many of them do exist, that you will imagine it and you will go down that dirty road and there will be more rain that is pouring on you, and you can't get unlocked from the state of becoming Eeyore. And the more that I want to help, the more that I realize I can't help because you want to be like that. And it's only when you release this hubris that you have, this strong pull of I am better than everybody else and I don't know why the whole world is working against me. And man, is that ever a seductive way to think, because I think like that all of the time. I have these thoughts and I think that the world is against me in some sort of way. And there might be that case. There definitely is those moments where there's lots of things that are going against you and it doesn't seem like anything is working in your way. But I think that there is an alternative story that I think is probably far more plausible than the world going against you and you getting rained on all the time. The more plausible story is nobody cares. And the more plausible story is that the world is just emptiness. And I know that seems like a hard thing to internalize in terms of what I'm saying. But the truth is that you are driving this road. You're driving this car. And the truth is that you simply have to realize nobody else cares. And I know that that is a hard thing to think about. And I know it's not what you're taught. And I know that you've had all sorts of things where people wanted to care in a certain way. But the more that you start to internalize this and you realize, it's me. I need to change this. I need to be the person that is driving this particular car and going in this particular direction. And yes, there are a lot of moments where nobody cares. And that yes, there is a god-awful amount of moments where nobody cares. But I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to be a happy person inside. And I'm going to work on things where I have gratitude. I'm going to work on things where I try to smile through all of this nonsense that we call the whole research game, or even just life in general. And I'm going to say, yes, there's all these problems that exist, and yes, they are real. But I'm going to be part of the solution. I'm going to be the part of the solution where I simply be okay with who I am. And yes, I'm always going to feel behind. That's okay. And yes, there's people that are going to be much better than I am. That's okay as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on how I feel so that I feel better with who I am. And so I can go forward and do the things that I need to do. This answer is far different than what everybody else says. So everybody else, if you go and you jump on the internet, they're going to say that there is just an easy process. You just got to do this, this, and this, and then life organizes itself. But we know that is not true. That's why everybody turns to this stuff. Right here, I noticed the irony that I don't drink alcohol, and we have all this alcohol that's sitting here, and yet a lot of people use that stuff to remove all of the things that are going on in their background because they realize they're trying to internalize something and get to something that they can't get to at this moment. The quicker that you release all of this stuff and you accept the world as it is, and it's hard to do that because sometimes the world just seems terrible. And it is true that there is a lot of terrible things that are going on. But you have to accept the world as it is so that you can go forward and realize it's me. That's the problem here. I need to let go of all of these things. I need to let go of all of the expectations that I have on other people. And I need to just be okay with who I am. Be happy at any given moment and work on that at any given moment. And I realize how hard it is for many of us that are in those deep, deep, dark moments. But you have to learn how to release all of those things because otherwise you become an Eeyore. Otherwise, you see the world negatively no matter what happens. And it's easy and seductive to see the world negatively. Is one of the most easiest things to do. It's a natural tendency for us as human beings to see stranger danger, to see all of the bad things that happen because we're trying to protect ourselves from all of the bad things that happen. Now, it's much harder to develop the skills to try to work towards feeling better inside. That requires putting in a god-awful amount of work where there's no easy answers. You're always pushing against the hard world where nobody cares. But hopefully, by the time that you're 90 or 100 or however you get to, you realize that all of this hard work was well worth it. It's not easy. It's not easy doing any of these things. But you get up and you try to make the most of it, and you be as happy as you possibly can. And I know some days it's not going to be that easy to be happy, but you work on it, and you figure out the things that trigger your happiness, and you go do those things repeatedly, as many times as you possibly can. All right, take care, and have a wonderful day. Bye.